Hi everyone, I'm Liz and welcome back to Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch. In today's video, we will be making this pillow. So I found this free pattern on Sherry McConnell's blog, aquiltinglife.com, and I will have that linked for you below. I just think it is a super cute, sweet Valentine's design, and I really wanted to film my process of making a quilted pillow for you guys. So I will walk you through putting together the quilt top, quilting it, and then taking your quilted piece and turning it into a pillow by adding a backing and a nice zipper to get your pillow in and out, and adding binding as a nice decorative finish and piping to your pillow. So just keep watching to see how I made this. Hey guys, welcome back to the cutting table. I decided that I was going to try to make a Valentine's Day pillow and quilt it tomorrow at my quilting appointment for my Valentine's table runner that I made a couple of weeks ago. You know, my appointment's tomorrow morning, so let me challenge myself and make a little pillow top that I can quilt tomorrow along with that table runner. I found this free pattern on a Quilting Life's blog, and of course I will link that down below. And basically I just want to pick out, I just kind of grabbed a selection of my favorite pinks and reds off my fabric shelves with a couple of background and kind of heart print fabrics, and I got her cutting instructions. And yeah, I think the only difference, well, I haven't really fully decided, but I think I want to make the pillow long way so it says XOXO rather than in the square format that she has presented in the pattern. But I'll make that decision after I make all the blocks and think about it for a minute. But first I'm going to cut out, well, first I'm going to choose my fabrics and get them cut out so I can make the little XO blocks. So these are going to be the print for my 4 letters, for my 2 X's, my O, and my heart. And then I think I'm just going to use the same background for all the blocks. I think in Sherry's, she had like a scrappy backgrounds, but I don't actually have a ton of scraps of background fabric. Actually, I might have more than I think. I'm staring at a bin. Let me go see if I have a couple other options. Okay, so I forgot I also have this heart fabric, which would be super cute as the background. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna use this for the background print for all these blocks. And then I will figure out how I wanna lay them out and how I wanna border them to make my pillow. Okay, so now I have my blocks all cut out. So I've got an XO, XO, and I'll probably end up laying them out something like this, but we will see. First, I'm gonna put the blocks together. Okay, I got all of my little blocks made, and these are 6.5 inches finished. And so I was thinking I might do a long layout, but that would be a really long skinny pillow. So I think I am gonna stick to the original layout, which kind of has this offset look here. So yeah, I'm just gonna end up doing the square pillow, which is super cute. And I'm just gonna use this white for the border around the blocks. And I don't think the pattern calls for sashing. Let me double check. No, there's no sashing in this, and I'm not gonna add any. I'm just gonna do it exactly as called for and cut my borders. So let me get these pieced together and then we'll do borders. Okay, so here is the center of my pillow front. And so all that I have left to do is add borders. And so this should measure about 12.5 by 12.5. Let me just double check it. Yep, 12.5, 12.5. Perfect. So I am going to get my borders cut out, and I'm just going to, well, I'm going to double check her instructions. I want my pillow to finish at 18 by 18. So I'm actually going to look and see. Yeah, she made her pillow finish at 16.5 by 16.5, but I think I'm gonna do mine at 18.5. And I'm actually gonna do it even a little bit bigger, just so I can trim it down once it's quilted to exactly 18.5 by 18.5. So yeah, let me get my borders cut out. So to get exactly 18.5, I would need 3.5-inch borders, but I'm just gonna go ahead and cut 4-inch borders to make mine just a little bit bigger. So once it's quilted, if any of it shrinks up a little bit, I can still cut out a perfect 18.5-inch square. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be so stinking cute. So, okay, let me get the borders on. Okay, so I got all of my borders added. So this is the front of my pillow, all ready to go. So I need to cut a piece of backing for it so I can quilt it tomorrow. And the backing will never be seen because it'll be inside the pillow. So I don't need to use anything that matches. I'm just going to probably find a solid piece of fabric that's big enough to be the backing to this pillow front. This is the table runner that is also getting quilted tomorrow. And so I have the backing for my table runner here. And so basically what I'm gonna do so I can quilt these at the same time is make the backing of my pillow the same height, because I think that will give me, yeah, and I'll be able to. So yeah, I'm just gonna cut the backing for the pillow to be the same width as my table runner backing, and then I can line them up next to each other and quilt everything at the same time, and it'll be great. Okay, so this is going to be the backing for my pillow. I didn't have quite, this wasn't quite wide enough, so I just pieced it together so it'll be big enough for my little quilted pillow. Perfect. So now I'm just going to attach this to the backing for my table runner and get it all ready to go to the long arm quilters in the morning. So I will see you there. Okay, so here is what the pillow looks like all quilted up. So now I need to trim it down to what I want the finished pillow size to be, which is going to be 18 inches by 18 inches. So I'm actually going to trim this 18.5 inches square. Okay, so this is the front of our pillow all ready to go. And this is what the backing looks like. But this will just be inside the pillow, so it won't really get seen, but I think the quilting looks super pretty. Yeah, so now I need to pick a binding, and that will act as kind of the piping or decorative finish on the front of the pillow. And then I need a backing fabric and a zipper because I'm going to make this a removable pillow cover. So I think this is what I'm going to use as the back of the pillow, so just the back side. And then I think I'm just going to use this print for my binding because I really kind of want like that pop of red on the binding, and I don't really mind. It's got, you know, like some pink and some charcoal in it, so I think that's pretty. So yeah, let me see if I have a zipper that I want to use. I think I will do this zipper. Okay, so for the back of the pillow, basically I need a fabric that is at least as wide as the back. So this is 18.5 inches. And even though this is technically a half yard of fabric, it looks like whatever store cut it gave me a nice margin. So I'll be able to get an 18.5 inch wide piece of fabric out of this, which is great. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut two pieces. Basically, I'm gonna cut a big piece and a small piece, and I'm gonna have the zipper kind of right across the top, about an inch or two down. And so, yeah, that's how I'm gonna do that. And then the binding is what will sew the back piece to the front piece and close all of our raw edges. So it'll end up being super cute. So let me get everything cut out. Just marking the top of my fabric since this piece is almost a square, but basically I cut an 18.5 inch by 17 inch piece, and now I'm going to cut a probably 2 inch by 18.5 inch strip for the top, and then I'm going to put the zipper in these pieces. I'm just going to do 2.5 inches so I know I have plenty. Yep, let's take these pieces and our zipper over to the sewing machine. Okay, so I have the two pieces for the back of my pillow, and my zipper is gonna go right in between these two pieces on the back. And I wanna do kind of a, not really a hidden zipper, because I mean, the zipper is big and chunky, you're gonna see it, but I'm going to attach the zipper in a way that the fabric kind of, I don't know what, I should probably have looked up what the term actually is, but it kind of gives a nice cover and a nice finish to the zipper. And that's just my preferred way to do my pillow backs. You can of course do like an envelope style where you just kind of layer the fabric if you don't want to like mess with zippers, but I really like a zipper finish. So that way you can pull the insert out, you can wash the pillow, you know, do whatever you need to do. So yeah, so to start with, we want to take the top piece of fabric and lay it right side together with the bottom piece of fabric. And we're gonna sew these two pieces of fabric together. And I'm gonna use like a 3.0 stitch length, like not quite a basting length, but this isn't a permanent seam that we're about to sew. We will seam rip this later. So just kind of use a longer stitch length. Okay, and then we're gonna sew the two pieces of fabric together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'll show you why in a minute, but basically we want just a little bit of extra fabric underneath the zipper. So I'm gonna use a 1/2 inch instead of a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I'm just using the lines that come built into my machine for my 1/2 inch seam guide. I'm going to take this to the ironing board really quickly, and I'm going to press the seam open. So I want my seam allowance nice and flat for the next step. Okay, so now here we have our two pieces sewn together with the 1/2 inch seam allowance with the seams pressed wide open. And now we're going to attach our zipper. I'm using this by Annie. It's actually a purse zipper. Normally I would just use kind of a normal, let me grab one to show you. Normally I would use something a little more basic like this with, it's just like a little bit smaller. You can see how much chunkier this zipper is, but I don't have the right length in this. And so I'm going to use one of my handbag zippers. So you can totally use whatever zipper you have on hand. It will definitely work with these kind of normal YKK zippers. It will also work with handbag zippers, whatever you have on hand. This is just the correct length, so that's what I'm using. And this is a purse zipper, so it has two zipper heads on it, but once I attach it and cut off one of the ends, I'm going to remove one of the zips because I don't need two zippers hanging off this pillow. I just need one. So anyways, but let's talk about attaching it. So basically what I'm going to do, my zipper is plenty long, so I'm going to let these zipper heads hang off the end here to not get in the way. But basically you want to lay your zipper face down and you want to line the teeth up on the center seam that you just sewed. So what we're going to do after we line the zipper teeth up with our seam is sew on either side of the zipper. So let me do that. And now I am going to switch my stitch length back down to probably about a 2.2 because this is a final seam. We're not going to be ripping this one out. And so I'm just using my fingers to hold everything nicely in place, and every few inches I'm gonna look underneath my zipper and make sure that my zipper tape is staying lined up on the center of the seam. And so you can see why it's nice to have a 1/2 inch seam allowance rather than just a 1/4 inch seam allowance, to make sure that you're catching it in the seam when you sew your zipper down onto the backing fabric. And so then you can see on the front, well, of the back of the pillow, you can see where we've stitched our zipper down onto the back of the fabric. And so I'm gonna do the other side of the zipper, and then we'll open up this seam. Okay, so we have our zipper sewn into place, and now we just take our seam ripper and open up the seam to kind of, I don't know, reveal the magic. So let me clean up this seam that I just had to seam rip, and then I'll talk about assembling the final pillow. So now we have our back all nicely made with the zipper in between. Looks great. You can see the nice little kind of hidden flap that will kind of hide the zipper on the back and make it not too like rough if anybody lays on this side or actually uses this pillow. So now what I want to do is make sure my backing is the exact same size as the front, because what we're going to end up doing is layering the back and the front together and then binding the edges to finish it and give it that decorative edge. So we want this to be the exact same size as our front, and I want to trim off all the excess zipper and get rid of one of these zipper heads. Oh wow, okay, so mine came out to the perfect size. I thought I was adding a little bit extra so I'd have a little to trim off, but it came out perfectly. So I just really need to trim off the zipper sides. So now everything is ready on the back, and you just want to make sure your zipper stays in the middle and you don't accidentally pull it off one of the ends. So just leave your zipper here in the middle, and let me get my binding cut out. Okay, I know I said I was going to use this for my binding, but let me just double check and see what I want on the edge. And that'll be on the back. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do the red. I thought maybe I might like the pink better, but I'm going with red. And since our pillow measures 18.5 inches square, that's, let's see, 37 and then 74. So we need at least 74 inches of binding. So I only need to cut 2 strips by the width of the fabric. And so for my binding, I'm gonna cut 2 1/4 inch binding strips. I'm just joining my binding strips on the bias, and I do that by just laying them across each other at a 90-degree angle. And then I use my seam guide tape from Cluck Cluck Sew to sew straight across and create that bias join. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the ironing board and press my seam open, and then I'm just going to fold my binding in half, and I'll be right back to attach it. So I'm just making sure my back and my front are lined up and that my zipper runs across the top of the back of the pillow. And then I'm just going to use Wonder Clips to clip everything in place for taking it over to the sewing machine so we can put our binding on. Okay, so before we attach the binding, I am going to baste all around the edges of my pillow, and that way I don't have these clips to worry about keeping the fabric in place while I'm working on the binding. So I'm just going to do a quick baste about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge of the whole piece. I'm trying to make sure here that this little zipper flap that I sewed earlier stays nice and flat as I sew over it, so I don't create any like weird puckers or anything. So now I have my pillow front basted all around to its backing, and all we have to do is add the binding to finish it up. And so I like to machine sew my binding onto the back of the quilt or the back of the project, and then flip it and top stitch it down to the front. That's kind of my favorite, fastest, quickest, easiest way to bind, and I like to do it on a lot of bag projects, pillow projects, things like that. So that is what I'm going to do today. If you want a more detailed binding tutorial, I will link that for you in the description box below. I did one recently on my project folder. Okay, I think I am going to switch my thread. So about 99% of the time, I just top stitch with my basic cream off-white thread because I felt like it looks good on most things. But since these are such saturated colors with the binding and the back of the pillow, I'm going to use red on my top stitch, and I'm going to use the pink in the binding, so that way when I'm top stitching my binding down onto the front, on the bobbin side, you'll have a nice little pink line of stitches rather than white. So I'm going to take some extra time and set that up instead of just using my basic white. Actually, while I'm sitting here, I'm going to take a minute to replace my seam tape. This one's been on for about a month or so, and every time I open the bobbin case, you know, I kind of break it over here just because of the way my machine is set up. So I like to change this, you know, anytime it starts getting a little raggedy. And I've also had people ask me how I line this up and use this. So I just thought I would show you real quick how I actually apply it to my machine. Here is what the seam guide tape looks like. It's just a roll of washi tape. Kind of has the consistency of like a masking tape. It's just like a printed paper tape. And I have to do this with my bobbin case shut because I do like it to go all the way up to my needle. And so what I do is I get the end of it and I get it really close to my needle here, and I'm just, oops, I try not to stick it down too much so it doesn't do that while I work. But basically I'm just trying to get the red lined up directly on my needle, and then I come down, and for me it goes right like that. And so I just run it straight down, and then up here, obviously I don't want this part messing with my feed dog, so I just bend it over and peel that piece right there so it ends right before it goes under the foot of my machine. And then this is my center line, and then this is my 1/4 inch on either side, and this is just so handy for really everything, but obviously for any kind of half square triangle or angled, you know, bias piece. Okay, so it's time to join my binding. For this pillow, since it's kind of a busy print and I don't feel like it's super, like it'll be super noticeable, I'm just gonna do a straight edge join like that rather than doing on the bias. Okay, we're gonna flip it around to the front and sew it into place. A lot of people like to press their binding from the back at this point. I don't always do that. I'm not super concerned with it. I have plenty to turn the corner, so I'm just going to top stitch it down with my red thread on top and the pink in the bobbin. I got a new, what do they call these things? A stiletto, a new stiletto. This is a K Facet brand one. I got it on clearance, so I'm not totally sure if they're still made. Normally I use the By Annie stiletto. This is what the By Annie one looks like, and I really love it, but I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to try this one. It's got a little ergonomic grip on it, so it's definitely thicker, but I thought I would give it a go while I'm working on this binding to test it out. So here you can see how the red is looking as the top stitching and the pink is blending in really nicely on the back of the pillow. So pretty happy I spent the extra time to change my thread colors. Okay, I think everything looks good. I'm gonna give this kind of a final press, and then I'm gonna go get the pillow inserted in here, my little insert. I'm gonna use either an 18 by 18 or a 20 by 20. I'm gonna see which one looks best in here. Sometimes it's better to get a bigger pillow inside your pillow cover to make it look fuller, so I'll see what works and I'll let you know. Okay, you have a finished pillow. How exciting. I think this just turned out so stinking cute. Thank you so much to Sherry for her free pattern. I am obsessed with it. I just love how it turned out. I used all my favorite red and pink scraps, my favorite Lori Holt print as this border and the heart. And I really just did this all from stash. You know, I used a zipper I had on hand, some backing fabric I had on hand, and I think it turned out great. I did end up putting a 20 by 20 inch pillow insert into my finished cover, even though it is finished at 18 by 18. I did try an 18 by 18 pillow insert and it looked just a little too small and flat, so I like the extra, you know, stuffing of a 20 by 20 pillow. So if you have any questions that I didn't address in the video about how I put together this quilted pillow, please feel free to leave them in the comment box below and I will get back to you just as soon as I can. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.